So I want to talk to you guys today about why you need to invest in yourself. Why it is important for you to invest in yourself. Take the time, effort it needs to put the work into you. Because nobody else is going to do this shit for you guys. It's you. Nobody else is going to come save you. Nobody else is going to come make you get up and work out. Nobody's going to make you get up and put time and effort into something you want to accomplish in life. No one's going to do that. No one's going to make sure you're, like I said, no one's going to make sure you're eating right, living right, doing all this right shit. You might have a mommy and a daddy that's taking care of you. They're not going to be here forever. You might have a girlfriend or a boyfriend that's taking care of you. They're not going to be here forever. You need to get the fuck up and do something. Right? Because nobody else is going to do shit for you. Nobody. Of course, you'll have people there in life. I'm not saying that. But when it comes down to it, when it comes down to if you want to make yourself get your ass up off the bed or the couch or whatever and do something in the morning, that's 100% you. You have to flip that switch. You have to invest that time in your mind. All people want now is to feel like they get instant gratification. No one wants to take the time to start something and finish it because it's too hard. People get that in their mind. It is too hard to start. And that's proven. It is harder to start something than it is to finish it. Most people will have the debate in their mind before doing it as opposed to while they're doing it. So once, for example, let's say exercise, for example, because I'm the world's worst of about waking up in the morning and then putting it off for about an hour, 30, 45 minutes, putting it off. And then I preach, get the fuck up and do something. I do get the fuck up. I do something, but it takes me a minute to flip that switch in my mind to be like, just quit, bro. Fucking 20 minutes of this and you'll feel better. Like, is 20 minutes not worth it to you? Like, is your improvement not worth this 20 minutes right now? Because I know within 10, 15, 20 minutes at the most, I'll feel better. And I will be excited about finishing yoga and because this is my routine. I wake up in the morning, do yoga, then I will hit the weights, do meditation, then later on in the day I'll go running or jogging or walking, either one, whichever one I feel like doing that day. And the worst part, and normally I start out with that yoga, and you know what the worst part of my day is? The first 5 minutes of that yoga. And then I feel fucking fantastic. But that's what I'm saying. Just an example. You starting something like, say you want to further your education, you want to start school. Well, in the back of your mind, you're thinking, let's just say, for example, you're 25 years old. You look and you say, well, this needs to take 4 years of dedication. I'll be 29 when this is done. And then the what ifs set in. Well, what if I can't get a good job? What if this happens? What if that happens? Well, what if I'm not good enough to finish? What if something comes up? And then you are sabotaging things before they come to fruition. You're making excuses in your own mind before you can even attempt it. And you're making it seem like starting this is some great feat that it's not. It just takes a few minutes out of your day. Once you start it, it's easier to finish. And like I said, most people do not want to put the time, effort, and work into anything. If, for example, let's say, I'm going to give a couple examples here. Let's say that you're obese, right? You're miserable. You're fat. You're sick of being fat, but you're like, I have let myself, and a lot of people think like this. They think that they've let themselves get too far, or they think that there's no coming back, or there's no helping them, so they don't want to take that first step, right? The first step's always the hardest step. After you take that first step, whether it's a baby step or a big step, you take that step, then the next step gets easier, then the next step ggets easier, then the next thing you know, you're running, then the next thing you know, you're sprinting, then the next thing you know, you're like, well, why the fuck did this one step? And then you realize in your mind that your mind had you. That you let your own mind control you. That's what I'm trying to get across to people. It does not matter what's going on in life. You can control it with your mind. It doesn't matter if you're 300 pounds today and think the world's against you and there's nothing you can do because you've let yourself get too far. That's a goddamn lie. Get the fuck up. All you have to do is get up. Get the fuck up. Go get some 5 or 10 pound weights. Do a set. Go walking a quarter of a mile. Eat something less today. And you're taking that first step. Simple as that. Let's say that you have a drug problem. I had a drug problem. I don't know if many of you know that. I did admit to taking Xanaxes and cocaine during my 3-year little bitch breakdown there. But if you fast forward about 15 years ago, I was addicted to pain pills. I was in a car wreck. The doctor gave me pain pills. I was addicted to them. But now let's look at how my mind thought up until recently. I blamed that doctor for putting me on pain medication just because I got injured, right? But when I knew that I had a problem with pain pills, was the first time I ran out about a week before, and I went and I don't even remember how I got medicine. I either stole it from my grandmother, went and bought it on the street, or I don't know how I got it. Do you see what I'm saying to you? But when that happened, and in my mind I knew my body felt like shit, and I didn't think I could survive another day or two without a fucking pain pill, that's when I knew I had a problem. That's when I should have went and got help. I shouldn't have waited, and I didn't get help until my first daughter was born. So I lived with an addiction and tried to hide an addiction for 3 years. Blamed everybody in the world. Or no, it was more than 3 years. I apologize about that. It was almost 5 years. From the time I was 16 until the time I was 20, almost 21, I had a pill problem. So I'm clean now. I've been clean for a while, but as you see, I slipped up on the coke, slipped up on the Xanaxes. And I have to admit that because that's the truth. I don't like bullshitting around. That's my truth. It's what happened. But let's use this drug addict as an example, right? I was forced into treatment because my daughter was on the way. I didn't think that I had a problem, and that's the saddest thing about it at the time. Looking back at it, I truly didn't think I had a problem. I thought just because I was functioning and living life, going out and working, doing other things, that I did not have a problem. But I did. I had a problem. I had a huge problem. And it doesn't matter how I was forced into it, it helped me. But let's look at this, right? Logically. This person has a drug problem. They think that, again, they're blaming everybody. They're blaming their doctors. They're blaming their mom and dad for the way they were raised. They're blaming their girlfriend for leaving them. They're blaming their dog for biting them. They're blaming one of these rent centers that will rent you a couch or whatever for coming and taking their shit because they couldn't afford it. Everything's an excuse to continue to take that drug. Even when they get to the point they're so sick of it that they cannot stand it anymore, and it becomes a need, not a want. They need to get that to not feel like shit and feel sick every day. Instead of them thinking, I will feel like shit for 2 weeks, but the rest of my life's going to be good, they will choose to take something, a little bit every day, just because they're afraid to be sick for 2 weeks. So instead of taking that first step, and this is probably what I should have let out with, because this sounds a whole lot more prolific than anything I've said I feel up to this point. Instead of taking that first step and saying, I'm not going to touch this today. I know I'm going to feel like shit. And just use this as an example with anything in life. Instead of me putting in this time and effort into making myself feel better, instead of putting in this time and effort into making sure the rest of my life is great, and the rest of my life I feel better, and the rest of my life I have a good shoulders on my head, a good head on my shoulders, and I know that I can push through shit, and then mentally I will be stronger. Instead of doing that, people will bitch up. People will bitch up and won't even take the first step to do it. So instead of taking that first step and putting in 2 weeks of dedication to help yourself, or to help, and this goes with anything, not just with relapse, not just with drugs, not just with rehab, this is with anything in life, losing weight, getting a better job, getting a better relationship with your family, anything. It takes time, and it takes that first step. So would you rather have a lifetime of misery because you're too big of a pussy to take the first step, or would you rather, so instead of taking that first step and being miserable for 2 weeks out of the rest of your life, 2 weeks ain't shit in the grand scheme of things, you'd rather be miserable for the rest of your life is to manning up, owning it, and realizing the next 2 weeks it's going to be some deep shit. The next 2 weeks is going to be some real life shit that I have to deal with. The next 2 weeks is going to define my fucking life. Now, again, that's just with coming off drugs. But that can be put with anything in life. You have to take that first step. You have to crawl before you can walk. You have to walk before you can run. You have to run before you can sprint. And at the end of it, you'll be running a marathon. And you'll be past 90% of the rest of the population because you've learned to control your mind. You've learned to take that first step and quit making excuses. That's when shit's going to fall into place for everyone. It's not a quick, easy fix. It's not as quick as me telling you something and then you just turning around and doing it. It can be that simple, actually, but you won't let it be that simple. And I don't have the answer for everyone. Just because this worked for me and just because this might work for you does not mean it's going to work for your friend or the person right there or this person watching. It's not. Everything works for everyone different, but I'm going to tell you 100%, I wholeheartedly believe the day you get up, you quit making excuses for yourself, you look yourself dead ass in the mirror and you have that conversation with yourself, that's when shit starts getting easier. Doesn't matter how you do it after that. That's when shit starts getting easier. Be honest with yourself. Tell the truth to yourself. Don't sugarcoat shit. That thought, that voice in everyone's mind, like I've said, that says you can't do it, you're not good enough, you need to turn that fucking voice up. Don't push it away. Turn it up, because when you stand up to that voice and you tell that voice, you're right. But you're right, I'm not shit. You're right, I probably can't do this. But you know what? I'm going to fucking try. That is when you realize shit in life. It's not this whole, let me push you away so I can get coddled by everybody. You need to hear it. I mean, I need to hear this shit. If I'm a pussy, call me out on my shit. Don't let me get away with it. I'll fucking own it. But don't let me get away with it. You're not doing me a favor. You're doing me a disservice.